Starting off this countdown, we have the bleeding painting. What I find crazy is when mansions are left still fully furnished. Like, are they just that rich that they can afford to leave all their stuff behind and just completely refurnish their new mansion? Probably. So this next urban explorer entered an abandoned mansion that still had big, elaborate, expensive looking paintings hanging on the walls. But something was off about the paintings. Some of them looked like blood was dripping from their eyes. On some paintings there was red liquid leaking from their eyes. The thing was, when they touched the liquid, it was wet. Meaning someone just freshly did that. Or somehow the paintings are perpetually wet. Or actually crying blood. I don't know, but I'm certain that that house is probably cursed. In our 9th spot, we have the dummy heads. While exploring an $8 million abandoned mansion, urban explorer, photographer, and YouTuber Freaktography came across some very creepy finds. So the mansion he was exploring was once owned by a rich dentist. Now it's extremely overgrown and rotting. Now inside the basement were multiple dental mummies. Just take a look at them and tell me that those aren't creepy. So the dummies were made to look as realistic as possible and even had human teeth on the inside. But now they have turned yellow and are rotting. Then you have the shelf of other dummies that look like some weird torture masks. I don't know, but I don't like those dummies at all. But the worst thing in this house was that in one of the bathrooms they had 2 toilets facing each other. Whoa, like I'm trying to do my business in peace. I'm not trying to lock eyes with someone else as I'm squeezing out my poopski potato. Seriously, who designed that? In our 8th spot, we have the room of dolls. Who here gets creeped out by dolls? I do. Specifically the old vintage looking ones. I swear they were designed to look creepy. Well, in this next abandoned mansion, an urban explorer found a room filled with dolls. No furniture, no decorations, only dolls. Dolls lined on shelves, dolls lined on the floor, just dolls everywhere. Obviously they were creeped out, so they decided to check out the other rooms. But when doing so, they heard a clunk come from the doll room. When they went back in, they saw that a doll had fallen from the shelf and it was now near the middle of the room, seated upright, just staring at them. That's when they decided to leave the house. Good call. That was probably cursed by Annabelle or something. Moving on to number 7, we have the groaning. Reddit user Never Enough Muppets shared their experience exploring an abandoned mansion in their hometown in Long Island. When he first entered the house, he was amazed. It was filled with late 60s, early 70s furniture along with a bunch of old kid toys and antiques. But on the 3rd floor, that's when things got weird. As he started walking down the warped hallway, a man popped out of a room and started dragging himself down the hallway after him. The guy was letting out big groans as he chased after him. Okay, hopefully that the guy wasn't sick and in need of help and was like, please help me come back. Hopefully it was just like a scare tactic to chase away any trespassers. Hopefully he's doing alright. In our 6th spot, we have the illegal clinic. While renovating an old abandoned mansion, the workers discovered the dark truth behind it. In the basement, they found 2 jars of formaldehyde. Each jar had a preserved fetus in it. They went on to do research on the mansion and discovered it was once an illegal abortion clinic. Yikes. I would not be buying that mansion. See, that's why you need to always know the history of your house before you buy it. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cursed mansion. Honestly, all of these mansions are probably cursed, but chances are this one is the most cursed of them all. So while exploring an abandoned mansion, this urban explorer discovered some loose floorboards in a crawl space. He pried the floorboards off and found a Ouija board had been placed in there upside down. The board had scratch marks all over it. Some believe that whoever hid it did so to protect themselves. They concealed it and placed it upside down to break contact with an entity that was probably messing with them. And this isn't the first time someone has found a Ouija board hidden in a house placed upside down. In 2016, a construction worker found one in the walls of a house that he was working on. Creepy. In our 4th spot, we have the crime scene. Urban explorer Freaktography was exploring an old abandoned mansion when he realized that the house was a murder scene. Parts of the house were covered in crime scene tape. It makes you wonder what went down in that house. Maybe it was the site of a gruesome murder and that's why the family had to pack up and leave. I wish we had more information. Like, I just want to know what happened there. Coming in at number 3, we have the asbestos. Reddit user O shared their experience exploring an abandoned Victorian mansion that was then converted into a mental asylum. So right off the bat, you know it's gonna be creepy. The house had its bedrooms converted into patient rooms, but it's also pretty cool because they had a big ballroom and an indoor fountain. However, after being there for a while, they saw a sign that read, "Warning, extremely high levels of asbestos in this area. Respirators must be worn. If you have been exposed, go to the nearest hospital immediately." Well, that sucks. I feel like that sign would have been much better on the front of the house so that people can see it before they enter. Moving on at number 2, we have the morgue. Some houses have really cool basements. Maybe it's turned into a home theater or an awesome arcade. That would be amazing. But in this case, this basement was a full-on morgue. In the morgue, there were a bunch of tools and body trays left out. Both were stained with blood. The creepiest part? While exploring the morgue, one of the lockers, aka the holding cell for the bodies, you know when you see the movie where they like slide it out, yeah, one of those, the doors just open on its own. See, that's why you don't have a morgue in your house. You're dealing with dead bodies and the spirit of the dead could literally get attached to you or your house. Then you're out there living with countless ghosts. And in our number 1 spot, we have the bloodstains. This next urban explorer broke into a mansion that was abandoned after the family packed up their stuff and left quickly during the night. Where was the mansion? Hill House? Residents of the area never knew why the family left all of a sudden and without any notice. So this explorer went there to get some answers. And he may have found the answer in one of the bedrooms. In the master bedroom, the mattress, sheets, and comforter were all stained with dry blood. And it wasn't just a couple of spots of blood. No, like it was a lot. So I'm thinking someone got killed there and they fled so that no one could find out about the crime.
Getting us scared in at number 10 is John Soden and his house in Los Angeles. It's time to brace yourselves because this story is pretty dark. Back on January 15th, 1947, a woman's body was found on this lot. Her murder became one of the most reported murders of the time because of the gruesome way in which her body had been found. She was surgically cut in half from the waist down, washed, cleaned, and posed by her killer. Residents who have since lived there have reported hearing strange noises, such as the dragging of heavy chains, heavy footsteps, and voices calling their name. It's actually a really nice looking house, but it is full of negative energy, and it is also believed that anyone who steps foot in this house will be cursed. So, you know what? I'm good at just admiring the architecture from like Google Maps. I don't even have to see it in real life. The Queen Mary's ship creeps onto this list at number 9. I had to include this one on this list because people technically did live on the ship and it is referred to as one of the most haunted ships in America. It was operated since the 1930s, but now it is permanently docked in Long Beach, California, and it is used as a hotel. As nice as this might sound, while guests on board will often experience sleepless nights, there have been a bunch of scary paranormal activities reported on the ship. Guests will say that they will hear creepy kid laughter in the middle of the night, or things will be flown across the room. And room B340 has been taken out of rotation after there's been numerous violent poltergeist activities. It's actually impossible to keep someone in that room for the entire night because they will just get scared away. For me, I would probably last a minute. Probably not even that long. Up next, number 8, we have the Stanley Warehouse. This is a notorious haunted house that has a long reputation of being one of the most haunted places in Orange County. One of the most talked about frightening ghosts that live here is the previous owner. During her golden years, she was unable to climb up the stairs, so after her death, she is known to appear in spirit on the staircase, blocking others from going up. Visitors have reported that they found it difficult or even impossible to get past her and go up the stairs. Oh, and let's not forget about the spirit of an old man who you can hear whispering nasty and offensive things while you sleep. And if you visit the house, you will be able to hear a baby crying upstairs, but when you go into the nursery, no one is there. That would freak me out. I think I would want to visit this house just to see if I can make it upstairs, but you'll never convince me to sleep there. I mean, I just value my life way too much, and I gotta find out what happens next on Bachelor in Paradise. Moving into number 7, we have the Battery Point Lighthouse. This is an iconic lighthouse located in Crescent City, California, and it was built back in 1856. There has been numerous reports of strange and creepy occurrences happening there. Lighthouse workers and guests say that they have heard what sounded like someone wearing large boots stomping around. There have also been reports of items moving, cold spots, and the feeling that someone was touching them when no one was even there. Apparently there are 3 ghosts that haunt this lighthouse, because one just isn't enough. No one seems to know who they are or why they are haunting this place. All I know for sure is that we should just board up the place and just leave it alone, just forget about it. Every now and again a visitor will feel someone tapping on their shoulder, or furniture will move by itself. I mean, that is definitely not okay, and definitely you don't want to be there on a stormy night. Bad things are said to happen there when it rains. The Whaley House haunts us in at number 6. This house was built on an old site where the public executions used to occur. So yeah, I would say this place is pretty damn haunted. Over the years, many descendants of the Whaley family lived and died in that house, and when the house was being restored, workers and visitors began to notice strange and mysterious sounds, sightings, smells, and encounters. A lot of people reported hearing scary noises and loud footsteps that left footprints. You can actually visit this house and take a tour, but I'd rather not. I'd rather spend my time at Disneyland, where I know it's 100% safe and not too scary, or is it? This place is littered with scary ghosts, and a lot of unsettling things have happened there. I'm getting the chills just thinking about it, so I gotta move on. Let's move on, let's see what we have next. Well, you know what? The Red House jumps into number 5 next on our list. This is an old abandoned house that is occupied by a vengeful spirit. Back in the beginning of the 20th century, an engaged couple used to live here. Well, on the night before their wedding, they had a huge fight, and the man pushed his fiancée down the stairs. She died, and he buried her in the backyard. Well, today, she has been seen haunting the house and nearby businesses. People have reported that she is wearing her wedding dress that is covered in blood. Is it her own blood? And local legends say that if you step in front of her, she'll rush forward and drag you to her gravesite, and you will never be seen again. Okay, I don't think I'm going to be visiting this creepy thing anytime soon, or any of these haunted houses on this list. I'm just not brave enough. Like I told you, I hear wind and I run. I see something just a bit bigger than a chihuahua and I run. Okay, the Glen Tavern Inn creeps us in at number 4. This house was built in 1911, but don't be fooled by its beautiful exterior. This house has a very ugly past. Back during the Prohibition, they converted the 3rd floor into a speakeasy, brothel, and gambling den. And one of the most infamous rooms is room 307, which is said to be haunted by 2 ghosts. The amount of paranormal activity here is very high. Visitors said that they saw children running through the halls, and some say that they've seen an angry man and a one-eyed female. There are also reports of the spirits playing the piano in the middle of the night, and others have said that their stuff was stolen. There have also been a lot of deaths that have occurred in this room. A cowboy was shot to death, and a woman was beheaded and left in a closet. So needless to say, this place has a lot of angry and vengeful spirits. Las Coches Adobe makes it onto this list at number 3. This might be one of the most terrifying places in California, and you know what's even more terrifying? The fact that I probably pronounced it wrong. This building is located on an old mine site, however it was covered up because on one horrific day, an accident occurred in the mine and about 30 workers were trapped inside. All of them lost their lives, so it's no wonder that this place is haunted. Locals and visitors have said that they heard the screams of the trapped miners echoing from the property, and there are also numerous reports of a lady in black and a male phantom walking around the grounds. Some people have even said that they've seen the ghost of a hanging man from a tree. And then we have the dark force. Locals say that this force is strong enough to throw you to the ground, and then you can feel heavy footsteps walking on your back, preventing you from getting up. There are a bunch of people who have said that they will never step foot in this place again, and I'm one of them. I don't blame them. Number 2, we have the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose. Since it was built in 1884, the mansion is said to be haunted by ghosts who were killed with Winchester rifles. Construction began in 1884 and never stopped until the owner died in 1992. The owner believed that her house was haunted by victims, and the only way to keep them quiet was to keep on building. The building was opened by the public in 1923, and the staff and the visitors have reported seeing mischievous spirits who liked to torment them. So yeah, don't be fooled by this beautiful house, because it is actually full of ugly surprises and scary ghosts lurking in every corner. But for those of you guys who are either brave or really naive, well, you can actually take a tour there and see all of the ghosts and scary paranormal activities for yourself. Alcatraz tops this list at number 1. Prisons are often the site of restless spirits and hauntings, and Alcatraz is no exception to that. This prison was the site of violent activities, and it housed some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. Alcatraz is actually a breeding ground for the paranormal. One of the most feared presence on the island is known as the Thing. This creepy spirit has red glowing eyes, and it has been recently seen by visitors and also by the prison staff when Alcatraz was in operation. Other common reportings are of creepy voices, sobbing, screaming, and the banging of cell doors. Some have even said that they felt as if they were being touched, felt cold, and they even had an emotional outburst of either sadness or anger just out of nowhere.
Starting off this countdown, we have Pablo Escobar. It was a very smart decision for Christian de Boudoir and his wife to purchase Pablo Escobar's old abandoned mansion. Legend goes that Escobar would hide tons of money all over the place, so chances are there's money stashed away somewhere in the walls. And in 2016, they made a pretty miraculous discovery while excavating the property. They found a safe hidden beneath the entrance of the house. The safe was about 2 feet by 2 feet and weighed about 600 to 700 pounds. But sadly, its contents were never revealed. But because it was hidden on the property, chances are it contains a boatload of money. Moving on down at number 9, we have the vintage house. Urban explorer and photographer that goes by the name Freaktography has found some amazing discoveries over the years. Most of the stuff he finds are very old and dirty and damaged, but in rare cases he comes across some very interesting finds. In this case, he was exploring an abandoned suburban home from the 70s. Inside, it was filled with vintage gems, like vintage collectibles like old Barbie dolls, Polaroid cameras, and a bunch of figurines like Yoda, E.T., and a Star Wars figurine set. Those things must be worth a lot by now. Moving on to number 8, we have the farmhouse. So back in 2017, Reddit user Evil English decided to explore his grandparents' old abandoned house in Tennessee. While doing so, he noticed a block of concrete in the floor by the staircase. The concrete had a round cap on it, and when he pried it off, he noticed it was a safe. Yeah, a secret safe that was built into the wooden floors. The family then hired a locksmith to open the safe, and inside was a collection of valuable items. He found coins, silver bars, cash, and antiques, all worth thousands of dollars. Coming in at number 7, we have the money in the walls. In 2007, antiques dealer Jeff Beetleman was asked to scope out an abandoned house by the late daughter's owner. She had always heard stories of treasure being buried in the walls, and she wanted to see if it was true. Plus, it was an abandoned house, so she had no problem with tearing a few walls down. And turns out that this legend was true. They found a bunch of old coins from 1826 to 1964, worth $200,000. Turns out that her relatives would use a slit in the wall as like a giant piggy bank. In our 6th spot, we have the cellar. When you're exploring an abandoned house, especially the attic or cellar, chances are you're more likely to find a dead body stashed away there than anything worth money. But that wasn't the case for some workers in France. Workers were demolishing an old abandoned house when they came across exactly 600 gold coins in a container in the cellar. The coins were from Belgium and dated back to the 1870s. They featured the king from back then, King Leopold II's face on them. It said that these coins are worth about 100,000 euros, which is about 118,000 American dollars. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with with the movie posters. Back in 2007, a man named Blair Peter moved into a home in Alberta, Canada, and began renovating it. The house was originally built in the early 1900s and it needed some work. But while lifting up some floorboards, he found tons of old original movie posters. He continued on renovating the house and found more movie posters stuffed in the crawl space and under the roof of the house. So it's thought that they were used as insulation, and obviously it wasn't worth money back then. But now, cha-ching. He found more than 360 posters. Apparently the man that owned the house was the owner of a local movie theater. So some of these posters were the ones hung up in the lobby of the theater. It was thought that Peter could get around $50,000 for some of the posters. That's one plus of buying an older house. There's a chance it's filled with hidden treasures just like this. In our fourth spot, we have the time capsule house. Again, another abandoned house where the urban explorer Freaktography struck gold. So story goes that he had driven by this abandoned house a number of times, but had no clue it was actually abandoned. That was until one day he noticed the windows were boarded up. A month later, the door was open. Time for him to enter. When he went inside, it was like he entered a time capsule. The house was filled with vintage items. He found old board games, antiques, and artifacts. Items that would be worth thousands. But as he always claims, he never moves anything from the house. He just photographs them and then leaves. He takes nothing but photos and leaves nothing but footprints. That's his motto. If he did take these items though, that dude would be rich by now. Coming in at number 3, we have the Mayan artifacts. Imagine being a junk removal specialist. Like, that's an actual job. You get paid to come in and clean up other people's crap. It doesn't sound that rewarding, but in this one case, it definitely was. In 2009, a team of junk removal specialists were called into an abandoned Soho apartment to clear things up. But inside, they found a bunch of valuable artifacts, including an ancient Mayan artifact, ancient figurines, and some valuable bowls and jugs. Altogether, these items are said to be worth around $19,000. Yikes. And to think that almost ended up in the landfill. Coming in at number 2, we have Superman. In 2013, a contractor was tearing down some walls in an abandoned house that he planned to renovate and then move into with his 4 children. While doing so, he found that the walls were stuffed with newspapers for insulation. But among the newspaper was a 1938 comic book showcasing the debut of Superman. It said that it was a virgin copy. That's like actually what they call it, but okay, sorry. It said that it was a virgin copy. Despite it being in not the best condition, the comic still sold at auction for $175,000. He actually would have gotten more from it, but in an argument with his relatives, the back of the cover got ripped, which decreased its value by $75,000. But still, that's one lucky man. And in our number 1 spot, we have the rolls of cash. I swear, urban explorer Freaktography has the best of luck. So he was out exploring an abandoned home near where he lived. He said that the house was abandoned for almost 30 years. While in the house setting up to take some photos, he noticed something odd sticking out from behind the mattress. It was a tin, and inside were bundles of tightly rolled up American and Canadian money. He said there was about $6,800 there. Now, he could have just made off with the money, but instead, he did the right thing. He tracked down the original owners and returned the money back to them. They had no clue the money was even stashed there, but they were incredibly grateful.